Hello, hello, welcome, please come in. We are back in Final Fantasy for a new series. This time we will be beating a variety of games using only the Monk class. Monk is an interesting class in Final Fantasy, mostly because it's also a very simple class, no weapons, or claws in some games, minimal armor, but high strength and stamina. And they're often pretty simple to use, too. So we start off by selecting our monks, naming them as is the tradition, and immediately unequipping all of their items. So, in the original release, it was best to keep using the default weapon for a short period, but my understanding is that in the Pixel Remaster version at least, the scaling on unarmed attack starts a bit earlier, so you just shouldn't. And a very brief leveling stint, and it's time for the first boss fight against Garland. As is typical, this fight is very easy. Just spam attack until dead, which does not take very long. Monks have a great ability to be very usable with very little investment. However, you also can't invest in them in any way. So I'll be curious to see how well the class stacks up to later game problems, because some of the fights in this game can be rough. With the bridge repaired, I can head over to Provoco. The nice thing about not needing to buy new weapons, new armor, or any spells is that affording healing items should be pretty easy. Pirates beaten right up, and I can sail south to Alfheim to buy some more healing items, because again, I don't need any equipment, really at all, to make this run optimal. Quick run over to Marsh Cave and I can grab even more treasure. I don't really think there's anything here I care about other than as money or sellables, and that means it's time for the first actual kind of wall in this game, the Pisco Demons. These little jerks always create problems in these playthroughs. They hit surprisingly hard, can overwhelm my party because there are 4 of them, and I am basically always underleveled at this point. And while monks hit hard and are fairly durable, at least for now, they aren't quite Pisco Demon ready. But a little bit of grinding to get my level up and I can hop back in the fight, and I am now two-shotting the squids. One big benefit of monks is they effectively gain double the benefits from leveling, because their stats scale, but also their equipment scales automatically. That gives me a crown that I can take to the Western Keep to start the next boss fight against Astos. Astos is a spellcaster who can cast some pretty dangerous spells, though honestly blinding the whole party is actually the annoying part. The good news is he would be better served by just spamming the Dara to overwhelm the party, a thing he doesn't seem to want to do. Goodbye, Astos. Take the Crystal Eye Astos was hoarding for some reason over to Matoya, who gives me the Jolt Tonic. This can be used to cure this guy to get the Mystic Key. Normally I would now backtrack to a bunch of locations to unlock a bunch of chests, but I'm just not gonna do that. Money is quickly going to become a non-issue, and the equipment is worthless to me. So instead it's back to Cornelia to pick up the Nitro Powder, and then over to Mount Dwerger to use said powder to just wreck the continental shelf so I can access the open ocean. Totally worth the potential ecological damage I just caused. Over to Melman to immediately leave and make for the Earth Cave. Seriously, it's really funny that all item shops in this game are identical, because that, combined with not needing any equipment, means basically every town in this game is functionally identical to me. The cave has a bunch of chests that are actually trapped. I could skip these, but the experience is decent, and I'll probably need the levels for Lich anyway. I am not looking forward to that fight at all. But before I can fight Lich, I need to kill this vampire, who starts out strong by paralyzing one of my monks, but unfortunately then gets punched to death by the remaining monks. Sorry bud, turns out aggressive blunt force trauma works just as well as a wooden stake. Who knew? Anyway, I can then take the ruby over to this golem to open the path, then to this old man to get the earth rod, then back to the earth cave to place the rod on this platform to open the way deeper into the cave. Whew, a whole globe-trotting adventure to be right back in the exact same place. Anyway, some more running around, and it is indeed time for the first true boss of the game, Lich. Okay, so to start, my damage is bad, then Lich casts slow, and between that and his all-target spells, yeah, that was not a long fight. Not that I really expected it to be. I don't really have any good options to do anything about this. I think I kind of just need to level. The double leveling benefit should make this doable eventually, but it's gonna be a bit. Especially when my next attempt results in my entire party getting slowed right out of the gate. Fantastic. Back to grinding. Okay, let's try this again, and there we go. My damage is noticeably better. Must have hit some kind of damage threshold. Again, I don't know how the damage formula works in this game, but the couple additional levels do seem to have made a big difference. And with Lich down, I can sail over to Crescent Lake to talk to this circle of old men and get the next important progression item, the canoe. For canoeing, you see. And that opens up a lot of options. And my next destination is not going to be Gulg Volcano. Instead, I want a few things that require an airship. So, it's time to head over to the Ice Cavern. The enemies here are pretty easy, mostly because I had to over-level a bit to deal with Lich, which is not unusual. I do need to be careful about status effects, though. Those are still dangerous. Anyway, beating up the evil eye in one hit gets me the Levistone, which I can then take to the unmarked desert to get my reward, an airship. Huzzah! There is so much for me to do now. First destination is the Citadel of Trials, because I want to be trialed. Oh, and thank you to the commenter whose name I don't actually remember, that pointed out the solution to the teleportation puzzle is to just always take the southmost teleport. You are appreciated. There are some spell items in these chests, but honestly I don't think they will ever be that useful to me. I'll grab them anyway. At the end, I can punch a few dragons to grab the rat tail, and it's over to Bahamut to get the class upgrade to Master. This means better stats, better damage, and just a general improvement overall. I can then fly over to the caravan to buy the bottled fairy. I don't actually care about this quite yet, but buying it now unlocks the tonics that are sold here. These boost stats and are a huge boon for monks, because they don't otherwise have any buffing ability. And that means it's now time to start flying through the game. Fly over to Mount Gulg, skip all the treasures because they are worthless, and it's into the Merilith fight. As is kind of always the case, I have 3 masters use strength potions to buff my last master to deal big hits. The damage increases very quickly from 100 to 2000, and the fight is over. Yeah, this is gonna be a mostly quicker second half of the game. Next stop is to take that bottled fairy over to Gaia. Freeing them gets me the Oxyale to breathe underwater. I can then head over to Unrack and take the waiting submarine down to the sunken shrine. There are a bunch of treasures here, most of which are still useless to me. I do have to pick up the Rosetta Stone for plot-related reasons, and at least the Giant's Glove should be pretty nice. Saber is a really good spell to be able to cast at will. I do wish I could have one master cast on another, but nah, that's the spell, I guess. And that means it is next fiend time, Kraken. And my strategy is mostly unchanged, except I spend 1 turn casting Saber on my main attacker. And I have to Cure Blind. Although I did deal 1000 damage while blinded, so I'm actually not sure curing blind was even necessary, especially when a second hit takes it out. Next up is the Waterfall Cavern. The main plot reason I'm here is to pick up the Warp Cube. Although there is also a ribbon. Worse defense, but it protects from statuses and elemental damage. Hard to say if the ribbon or no armor is better. Is that why there's only 3 ribbons in the game? Anyway, over to Melman to learn Ancient Lufenian from the Graveyard Creep. Then over to Lufenia to get the bell I need for the Mirage Tower. I actually don't remember what items are in this tower. I should probably just grab them all, because I know some of them are spell items. Weird, there's no monster chests in this dungeon. How odd. Okay, teleport up to the Flying Fortress, and I don't care about any of the treasures here, so I'm just gonna rush the boss. Hello, Tiamat. I have bad news for your ongoing existence. Time to deploy my only strategy. Okay, Tiamat does actually hit pretty hard. Oh, she hits too hard. You know what, I think I will equip that ribbon on my main attacker to have elemental damage. Oh, the diamond armlet actually just has higher defense? Neat. Anyway, back into the fight, but with a bit more durability on my main attacker. The fight goes basically the same as the first attempt, but that half elemental damage means my attacker can deal enough damage to finish the fight all by himself. And that is 4 fiends down, which means all that remains is the Chaos Shrine. This run has been pretty breezy thus far. I'm so excited to watch that crumble to dust at the home stretch. Let's watch. To be fair, I'm only level 32, so I would actually be pretty surprised if this went super well. But there is no point at guessing. It's time to run through the Chaos Shrine and face the first boss, Lich. My strategy remains unchanged, which probably shouldn't work, but Lich has decided to spam basic attacks. Interesting play. Let's see how that... Oh, everyone is dead. Okay, well, that's fine. Zeph isn't and can finish the fight. That got a bit spicy at the end. Guess it's time for Merilith. And my normal strategy is still in play, which starts off a bit slower because Merilith has more physical defense, I think. But thankfully, that ribbon is still putting in big work to have elemental damage. And Merilith apparently gives up and starts spamming status spells for some reason? Alright. The fiends seem to be actively throwing. Kraken time, same plan as before, spam tonics and punch. Wow, Kraken is scary when he actually attacks. Seriously, I feel like in most runs he never even uses his considerable attack power. But here, oof. Looks like Kraken has come the closest to not throwing. I mean, I still won, because those are big punches, but at least Kraken didn't embarrass himself. And that means I can now access the Masamune, which monks can equip despite being monks. The Masamune is definitely stronger than unarmed attack, so I guess I'll use it. The damage is pretty good, but it actually doesn't look that much better. I wonder if it's a number of attacks thing. I think I need to grind anyway to beat Tiamat, and yeah, my other master seems to deal equivalent or better damage, so no Masamune for me. Which is fine. Unarmed attacks scale very well in this game, so I'm fine using them through the endgame. Okay, levels acquired and it's back into the fight. I really just need a bit more durability and a bit more starting damage. So it's time to spam tonics and basic attacks and... Okay, you know what, I'm just gonna call that bad luck with Tiamat's move choice, whether that is true or not, and hop right back in. Next attempt goes much better, mostly because Tiamat decides to spam level 2 magic at the end instead of one-shotting Zeph. Okay, next up is Chaos, and based on that Tiamat fight, I can tell you right now this is not going to go well. But I wanted to baseline to see where I'm at compared to where I need to be, so let's hop in and get one attempt under the belt to see what we're looking at. And yeah, no, not even close, so it would seem I have a ways to go. And oh boy, was I right. I've ranted about this boss at length before, because this boss is so stupidly overtuned compared to every other fight in this game. Mostly because he has the stats he had in the GBA or PSP version of FF1, which have bonus dungeons to bridge that considerable gap in power. Those do not exist in this version. Instead, you go from Tiamat, who was beatable, albeit barely, at level 35, to Chaos, who is a monster. Big physical attacks, big spell damage, neither of which I can actually do anything about, and of course he also has status effects to really make my life miserable. Playing in the background is just a sampling of the nonsense I had to deal with trying to beat this boss. I really hate reaching the end of a game and the only real option to win this fight is to level up a bunch to match the boss, but there really aren't any other options at this point. Monks' power comes from their simplicity. Sadly, so too does their weakness. But finally, after leveling up to level 55, I finally reached this attempt. And there still isn't really any strategy here, it's just spam strength tonics with every monk other than Zeph, who spams physical attacks. This pumps up my basic damage to hit from 2,000 to 4,000 damage per hit. And most of the party still goes down, but finally, Chaos is dead. Oof. And that was Final Fantasy I, beaten with only monks, which was interesting. In some ways that run was super easy, I didn't really have to think at any point, there were very few strategic decisions to make. On the other, it was also really painful in a few places where Monk's incredibly basic toolkit was not equipped to handle it. But I will have more to say about that in the summary video, out in a few weeks. I did want to shout out that I do have a Patreon, linked in the description. I spend a lot of time making these videos. So if you enjoyed the video, want to support the channel, and are financially stable enough to do so, that exists. No pressure though, this channel is free to enjoy for everyone and will remain that way. For now, if you like this video, be sure to hit the like button. If you'd like to see more of this, feel free to subscribe. Hey, maybe leave a comment if you have something you'd like to say. But whatever you decide to do, have a safe trip home.